Halo has always been a very unique game with a well-defined identity. At its core, Halo is a military sci-fi first-person shooter video game franchise. But wait a minute, is it still a military shooter? With the release of Halo 5, I'm not so sure anymore. But even if it's not, why is this a big deal? Why is this topic worth making a video? Well, because Halo has always been based on the military. That has always been a part of its identity. We can see the influence of the military in the campaigns, stories, the way characters interact with each other. We can see this in the level, vehicle, and weapon design, as well as the design of various locations, set pieces, and art. No doubt the military has heavily influenced the way Halo games have been made and portrayed. And if that's not enough, most of Halo's sales come from the United States, a country that has an extreme fascination with guns and the military. It's a very big part of our culture, so keeping to the tradition of being a military sci-fi shooter is an essential piece of what makes Halo feel like Halo. If you've ever paid attention to the Waypoint forums, the Halo subreddit, or the general attitude towards the art design of Halo 4 and 5, then you know a lot of people really don't like it. A lot of the designs went from something that would be practical or actually seen in a military to something that looks cartoony and unrealistic. In Halo 1, 2, 3, ODST, and Reach, the UNSC weapons, vehicles, ships all felt like something that the military of Earth would actually design and use in the future. Even the Covenant designs were practical and foreign in their own respect. The plasma rifle feels like an alien gun. The unique shape and design can tell us about the technology the Covenant used. The Storm rifle doesn't have the same effect. It looks weird to see elites holding their main automatic weapon the same way the UNSC holds theirs. And the Storm rifle feels like a projectile-based weapon rather than plasma-based, which is what the Covenant use. And it breaks tradition when the core elite weapon is swapped out for something else for no logical reason. The weapons in Halo 5 don't feel militaristic at all. The Smart Scope makes them feel digital, Tron-like, instead of gritty like it's supposed to be. It also doesn't help when 343 do not design an air vehicle for the UNSC until 8 months after the game's release. I mean, how the hell did they not lose the war when the Prometheans and Covenant have full control of the air? Same thing with the Prometheans. How the hell do Promethean forces stand a chance against the UNSC when they only have infantry, watchers, and the occasional turrets? I mean, you'd think adding more vehicles and giving the Prometheans something to drive would make for a very immersive experience. If done right, that would bring a lot of good things to the franchise. But the sheer lack of vehicles in Halo 5 takes me out of the story and the universe, because it doesn't feel like different military factions fighting each other when they simply do not design land or air vehicles. You look at past Halo games, they always covered their bases with land and air vehicles, and as a result it felt like a real war. I mean, throughout human history we've always used vehicles. The Trojan horse, battering rams, trebuchets, tanks, etc. Now, a big problem with the art design and militaristic feel is that 343 seems to be changing things for the sake of change. And when Halo 4 rolled around, a lot of people didn't really like it because it didn't feel like Halo. Sometimes things don't need to change. The battle rifle was just fine the way it was, but yet it had to change. Why? Why take a well-designed militaristic weapon and make it look different and cartoonish? A big part of Halo is that it has always appealed to people in the military. In fact, I'm sure any of you watching that have ties with the military know people, or you are in the military yourself. I'm sure you guys have tons of stories relating to Halo. So please, at the end of this video, post your comments below if you are involved in the military in any way and have a story to share. The thing is, if Halo isn't a military sci-fi shooter anymore, then those people that want that will probably look towards other games. People want to play a military-based game. That's what Halo has always been. But if Halo isn't like that anymore, then the franchise loses popularity to other games that satisfy that need. Now, when it comes to the stories and campaigns, Halo 5 has definitely lost its military roots. If we compare Halo 5 to past games, you can easily see what I'm talking about. The characters of Halo 5 are severely lacking military discipline and personas. Throughout the stories of the original games, they have always showed you the chain of command. Proper respect is displayed to characters like Lord Hood, Captain Keyes, Sergeant Johnson, Miranda, and of course the Master Chief. Even Noble Team Dot Halsey and Colonel Holland all had different ranks, and it felt real. Dot felt like a real AI the military would use. There's even a part where Carter and Halsey are having a little scuffle because of their ranks. It added depth to the story.
I'm sure you're familiar with the punishment for civilian interference with the Spartan deployment.
Are you threatening me, Commander?
Just making a reading suggestion, ma'am.
All the characters act, feel, and talk like they are in the military, and it makes the game more immersive and believable. But if you're the type of person that says Carter is a boring character, that's kind of what he's supposed to be. He's supposed to be a stoic military leader of Noble Team, and he satisfies that. He is exactly what you would expect a leader of a Spartan team to be and act like. Now, this is a minor point, but Roland doesn't feel like a real AI that the UNSC would use. Cortana felt real, Dot felt real, but Roland doesn't. Why? Probably because sometimes he gets really fucking pissed off.
Her is a threat.
Hey! Is anyone gonna answer me?
I mean, why would the military design an AI that gets angry easily? That could cause some serious devastation if he's in control of the ships and he lets his anger blind him. Again, it just ruins the immersion. And the entire Covenant has also displayed this chain of command and respect in a similar way. We see the prophets at the top, with faction leaders such as the Arbiter, Heretic Leader, Shipmaster, and Tartarus. And then we have all the different ranks of the Covenant. You got brutes, hunters, jackals, skirmishers, grunts, and they all have their different place in the Covenant military. There's also all the different sub-ranks. This makes it an incredible experience when you, as the player, encounter these high-ranking enemies. When you saw the very first Gold Elite on Truth and Reconciliation, it was a major event. This same concept of encountering high-ranking enemies has been a recurring part of the Halo campaigns, and it's part of what made the encounters so interesting and memorable. It makes the conflicts feel real. And once again, the changing of the honor guards from elites to brutes in Halo 2, the changing of rank in the military, was a very important plot point. Compare all of this to the Promethean forces, but the only difference in rank is that some have more spikes. It's not like they have a more important role in their own military, they're just tougher enemies that are meant to look different. And since Prometheans don't have ground vehicles, they have to use human and Covenant vehicles, which doesn't make much sense at all. How do they know how to use our technology? Why do they use it? And why don't they create their own? The Flood too work in a unique way, having a single entity commanding and controlling the whole. And because the Flood take over the hosts of military personnel from both sides, they feel like a military too. They're able to steal ships, vehicles, weapons, you name it. They're a genuine threat to the galaxy, and they couldn't be if they didn't act like a real military. A corrupted, gross, green military. But we never see these kinds of military actions or themes in Halo 5. You never see anyone saluting, there doesn't appear to be any chain of command, it doesn't feel like a military for any of the factions involved because Halo 5 does not take the time to portray them that way. Palmer is apparently a commander, but we never see her command anything. She doesn't have any sort of relationships with the Marines or anything. She's never on the battlefield and you don't fight with her. Not like Sergeant Johnson, who was constantly involved in the war effort, keeping up Marine morale and battling on the front lines with the troops. Johnson even dies on the field of battle. He gives us a glimpse into the sacrifices made by military personnel around the world and throughout human history. He is a true soldier, and the replacement for Johnson, Sarah Palmer, is none of those things. In fact, she's one of the most hated characters in the Halo franchise. It's a shame too, because the same thing happens with Lasky. He's supposed to be the captain of the Infinity, but in Halo 5 he doesn't really do anything. And the Infinity didn't play any role at all in the story either. Once again, we see how Halo 5 has broken tradition and immersion of the Halo games. Big ships have always had a prominent role in the story, and they always had very unique, creative names. Names that made you think. Pillar of Autumn, In Ember Clad, Forward Unto Dawn, Shadow of Intent. And then we have Infinity. Oh yeah, that's real creative. Because of the squad-based gameplay, most of the focus goes to the fire team instead of the Marines, the sergeants, the pilots, the captains, the soldiers, the military. Halo 5 likes to portray Spartans and fire teams as superheroes, and that's not what they're supposed to be. In a way, Spartans are superheroes, but they're superheroes because they are soldiers, because they defend humanity. It's because of their heroic actions, it's because of who they are and their badass armor that we feel they are superheroes. They feel like real soldiers in a real military. Think of that scene in Reach where George is talking to the girl. He's gentle, he's kind, he's doing what he needs to do to help people out. You're not just a hero because you can jump in the air and do a sweet 360 no-scope ground pound. You're not just a hero because you can outmaneuver the slowest, stupidest version of the Covenant ever created. What makes you a hero is what you do, what you believe in, how you help people, and make the world a better place. No character in Halo 5 ever does that. And as a result, the Spartans just feel fake. They don't feel real. They don't feel like heroes. They don't feel like soldiers. Again, it goes back to the way that Spartans are portrayed in the Halo games. They're like living legends.
Mira, a Mark V!
When I asked for reinforcements, I didn't think they'd send a Spartan.
Hey, check it out. No way. A Spartan?
For real? You better not be.
No, man, he's here.
The Office of Naval Intelligence believes deployment of a Spartan team is a gross misallocation of valuable resources. I disagree.
The Master Chief is dead.
This file reads missing in action.
Catherine. Spartans never die.
Everyone in the UNSC knows about the Spartans, and when they see one, it's like a life-changing event for these soldiers. In the original games, you were supposed to be the last Spartan, or in Reach's case, the last group of Spartans on Reach, and you always felt like a badass because of it. But in Halo 5, we got like 12 different Spartans. Well, you got Blue Team, you got Fire Team Osiris, and Palmer's a Spartan, Lasky's a Spartan, but he doesn't wear armor. You got those two guys in the background for like 1 second, they're Spartans too. The Arbiter's probably going through the augmentation process to become a Spartan because who gives a fuck about the story. But I just don't feel like a badass Spartan in Halo 5, like I did in all the other games. And those superficial action cutscenes didn't help either. It also really breaks the immersion when you have characters that act like they don't understand even the most basic of military protocols. I'm not even talking about code words or commands. I'm talking about shit like this. You got 4 of the most badass, cool, well-known, well-trained Spartans in the Halo universe. And when another Spartan, a hitman, is pointing a gun at them, what do? They just stand there like fucking retards. Like they don't even know what guns do. I mean, who the fuck would act like this if someone was pointing a gun at them? Certainly not people in the military. Certainly not Spartans with the most completed missions in UNSC history. Certainly not Blue Team. Now let's talk about the enemies themselves. The Prometheans had a leader in the Didact. Once he got out of his ball thingy, he quickly took control of the Covenant and Prometheans. It showed us just how powerful he was and just how quick he was to get the ball rolling. Does the Warden Eternal do anything like that? Is the Warden even a commander? I mean, what the hell is he? Who commands the Prometheans now? What is their agenda? Who ranks high and who ranks low? How do the Prometheans coordinate their attacks if they have no leaders? We just flat out don't know these things. In Halo 4, the Prometheans kind of felt like a military. I guess we all just figured they would expand upon that a lot more in Halo 5. Kind of like Halo 2 did with the Covenant. But no! Halo 5 spends no time showing us what the Prometheans are like, who leads them, or what their strategy is. They're just robots there for you to shoot. No rhyme or reason to them. And when they spawn into the game, it's so obvious. It's like my mind starts thinking about the developers and their decision making. We'll put some robots here, and here, and here. As a result, I'm taken out of the game because the way Prometheans spawn in just feels like a lazy technique used by the developers, and not some sort of advanced military strategy. I mean, why not warp in thousands of robots? Seems like they have an endless supply of them anyway. Where do these robots even get warped in from? Is there a droid factory or something? The Sentinels can fly, so when they spawn, they usually fly in from somewhere the player can't see. The Flood are usually in specific places, wandering around, looking for bodies bodies, or sometimes they jump out from behind cover. The Covenant use dropships, drop pods to get their troops where they need to be. And the UNSC pretty much does the same thing. It all makes sense for those guys. But not with the Prometheans. At least the Covenant had a leader in Halo 5, but Joel gets killed in the first mission. And nobody takes command for the remaining 14 missions? Well, what about the Swords of Sanghelios? Well, the Arbiter is their leader, but the Swords of Sanghelios don't really have jack shit to do with the story, so in the end they're pretty much pointless. Halo 5 especially doesn't have that desperate feeling the older Halos had. That added meaning to the combat and the gameplay. The first one had you feeling like you had to get all your Marine buddies and mount a sturdy resistance in a losing war. Halo 2 and 3 were about defending Earth and humanity.
Master Chief, defend this station.
Yes, sir. I need a weapon.
Right this way.
In ODST, you're sneaking around at night in a Covenant-occupied city, and during the day you fight in the large-scale battles.
Good hunting, boys. I'm keeping my boots on the ground.
Reach was about fighting until your last breath, all while knowing in the back of your mind that you would die. Fourth one had you kill some dude who could use the Force and wanted to turn people into light. And fifth one, well, didn't really have anything like that. Because of this, a lot of the battles don't carry much of an impact. And again, it doesn't feel real. I'm not invested in the gameplay or the story because there's nothing at stake. That's part of what has always made the Halo games so awesome, is that you always felt like you were battling against all odds. And in Halo 5, you're not. Now, what about the blood and the first T rating that a main Halo game has ever had? While it was probably an attempt to appeal to a younger audience, was it necessary to tone down the blood, violence, and language in the games? Now, aside from the fact that the blood in Halo 5 looks like absolute shit for a game in 2015, there's not enough of it. Part of what made Halo feel so awesome was the blood. You were shooting real aliens, organisms that had a strange, unfamiliar anatomy. They bled all sorts of different colors because they were from different planets. They were aliens. They bled because they were real. This is part of the reason why Halo 5 feels so cartoony and fake, because you got these hyper-lethal assassinations, but yet there's hardly any blood. You shoot or whack a Spartan or Elite and they just fly around like plastic dolls. The Spartans in Halo 5 do not bleed. That is unrealistic, plain and simple. And because of this, the game loses that satisfying feeling. It loses that gruesome tone and reality that things die and bleed in war. Now, the music of Halo games has also done a lot of things to reinforce the military aspect and feeling of the games. Marty O'Donnell was a genius who obviously understood this and created a soundtrack that worked well with the militaristic tone of the games. Now, I can't explain it as well as I'd like to, but if you just listen to any of the soundtracks from the original games, you can hear that militaristic tone, as well as that feeling of desperation and fighting against all odds. There was even two different soundtracks, a military Covenant soundtrack and a military UNSC soundtrack. And finally, let's talk about the ranks. As most of you are aware, Halo 3 and Reach had their ranks pulled directly from the American military. Again, this is in tune with American culture and helps people connect with the game and its tone. You've got privates all the way up to generals, and Reach also added some cool Spartan-like ranks. But the ranks in Halo 5 don't follow the military at all. Now it's just a number. And the ranking system of Halo 5 goes so far as to outright copy League of Legends and StarCraft. Why did we need this bronze, silver, gold, platinum, onyx rank? What was wrong with the original military rank? Once again, Halo is just losing its identity, what makes it special, and 343 is constantly trying to copy other successful games to appeal to new audiences instead of doing what Halo is supposed to do. It's supposed to be based on the military, so give us some goddamn military ranks. All in all, the influence that the military has on Halo, on American culture, on sales, and the feeling of the games themselves is of the utmost importance. Halo 5 is not a military shooter. It's turning into something that feels cartoony, and as a result, people lose their immersion with the games and stories. They lose that traditional nostalgic feel that keeps them connected to the franchise, that keeps them buying and playing the games. I don't think 343 even knows what they're trying to do with the games anymore, or what tone they're trying to set. Halo has lost the military influence it once had, and because of this, the franchise is also losing popularity, its identity, and what made it unique and successful in the first place. Hopefully things can change. Hopefully Halo can become a military shooter once more. Alright everyone, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Now, if you have any connection with the military and you played the Halo games, please post any stories or insight you might have into this issue and how you feel about it. Now, if you enjoyed the video, then you should subscribe to the Act Man channel. Alright guys, that's all I got for today. This is the Act Man, signing out. Peace!